think contributed to it. So I think the emotional traits you picked up in her were spot on. In terms of the career, well, probably
she didn't
not.
Have one. Okay. Right, well, Marcus has given me a chart. I don't know anything about who this person is, apart from the fact that it's a female. I have the date of birth here in front of me, 1942. I've spent about 20 minutes just sort of having a little look, and I'm going to dive straight in and give you my initial top-of-the-head thoughts on what this chart might mean. Okay, so first off, this seems to me to be a person that goes out into the world in an extrovert way, communicating, connecting, networking, juggling lots of ideas, but with a mission to feel a sense of belonging in the world and to communicate that and to share that. Now, if this was a client in front of me, I would ask a lot of questions. One of the major things I would ask, I would want to know, was there an upheaval or a trauma or something dramatic that happened in their early home life that affected that person, that changed their life mission somehow? There's a lot of, underneath that kind of extrovert, outgoing type of personality, there's very deep emotions. It's that kind of still waters run deep. The need to feel safe, the need to feel safe, and the need to sort of not be able to let go if this person feels wrong is, if we're talking negatively, that might be something. It's someone who is very touchy and very sensitive, I feel, from looking at this chart. Someone who would come out fighting, particularly when their pride is hurt, when their emotions are hurt, when their sense of security is threatened, and someone who will keep going, will keep up the fight, keep the fight going. Could also potentially be very good at fighting on behalf of others. In terms of when I looked, because often with well-known people, we don't know their personal lives or how they felt, but we know how they expressed it through their vocation. So in terms of vocation, on the vocational angle, the MC in the chart, we have Aquarius. So that's someone actually that there's a few possibilities. One of them is that this person might believe in equality and freedom. Those values might be reflected in the vocation, or it might be something there's a futuristic or a technological thing involved. Certainly this person was born in a time when the old and the new are in conflict and are trying to find a new way of doing things. And there may have been, or this person might have felt, some censorship in the way that this person communicated, potentially. Which meant that this person had to operate perhaps behind the scenes, but also someone who sees the bigger picture, who wants to see the big perspective, the bigger picture, but also wants to dig deep into the details. Very idealistic, idealistic in one's ideas and in one's opinions, and with a potential with a yearning potential perhaps to feel emotionally perhaps disappointed or not be able to express themselves as they'd like, or not to be able to be received as they may have liked to have been. I think that's probably enough waffle. Now for the big reveal. Who is this person?
Right, interesting. Okay, well, this is actually quite a dark chart I've chosen for you today. This is the chart of Myra Hindley.
Oh my goodness.
The notorious Moors murderess. She was the wife of the girlfriend of Ian Huntley, and between them they were convicted of murdering and killing several teenagers and children. Now the interesting thing you've got here is you said she was kind of extrovert and whatever, but there was a potential history of abuse. Well, I think that's true. I think Myra Hindley obviously came from a slightly disturbed background. And you also said about the emotional sensitivity of this person and the idealism. She basically got romantically attached to Huntley, this murderer, and Brady, not Huntley. I'm thinking of Huntley's a modern one. So Ian Brady, not Huntley. I'm conflating two serial killers. Don't ever do that. It's a bad so anyway, you're quite right. It was Ian Brady. I'm looking at the biography on Wikipedia here. So, but she fell passionately in love with him and got drawn into his dark world, probably because she came from this background of abuse, as you rightly picked up. And that sensitivity and that idealism, I think, contributed to it. So I think the emotional traits you picked up in her were spot on. In terms of the career, well, you know, probably
She didn't
not. Well, not a good one anyway. But I mean, this is the difficulty with doing a blind chart, because you don't know whether the person sitting in front of you is in a prison cell or, you know, ruling the planet.
True, yeah.
But in terms of the background and the emotional operating system, I think you were pretty much on.
And
the
also,
nail.
when you put it into context as well, and you talk about vocation, she was born in 1942. It's a different world for women. She was born in Manchester, England, 1942. There wasn't so much place for that. There was that potential that I said about vocation. That was a potential in the chart, but you know, it's all about opportunity to express that, and obviously she never got that opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing you said there, the job. I don't know what her actual job was, because you did say she thought she might have a career or something to do with technology. I have a feeling that in those days audio technology was relatively new. This is not a very pleasant take on a job, but her and her boyfriend were notorious for actually recording the sounds of their victims being tortured. And these recordings were found. So this was so that's a particularly dark reflection on the use of technology.
When you've got all that strong Gemini in the chart, you've got Gemini rising, you've got Uranus, Saturn and Venus all in Gemini, and she recorded, you know, Venus's relationship, she recorded these things of her partner and her doing these horrific things. Gosh.
So let's have a look, see what else we can find. But
I'm amazing about when Mandi talking about the water running deep, because in this kind of case is really the emotion is not going to showing, and there is a lot of things we call it the water running under, because we can't see it, and it's kind of holding it very very deep.
I mean, I think she actually ended up committing suicide, but no, Hindley died after a heart attack at the age of 60, but she spent most of her life in prison eventually. But a lot of the, I can't remember what she worked as, whether she actually had a job. She left school. She worked as a typist for a chemical firm initially, but then, as I say, the famous bit is that they actually recorded.
Well, a typist actually a female in that era. That's quite good for the Gemini rising.
True.
All that Gemini really.
I think it's very very interesting, because you bring a murder case thing that we're like, I will. It's
and it's very interesting, because it's really often been said in the astrological community that it's extremely difficult to see the chart of a criminal.
People will always ask about.
It doesn't have to turn out that way.
I mean, it's highly obvious in hindsight, but I would say that a lot of the because you're focusing more on the psychological profile, you mentioned the troubled past, and you also mentioned the deep intense emotions.
Yes.
You also mentioned the fact that she would be very idealistic, and her propensity to fall in love will be deluded along those lines. Those are key facets of her personality and her background that led her into that lifestyle. So in terms of psychological profiling, there was some useful material.
Oh, now I'm sugar.
Right.
Thank you, Marcus.
All right. Good.
Yeah.